Hello and welcome to another episode of Not Without My Sister, in which we are going to discuss matters close to our heart, which are intriguing us, making us look back over our lives and ask ourselves meaningful questions about relationships. Past, not past and present, just past, hopefully. I'm Beatrice McCabe and you are?
Rosemary McCabe.
And we are delighted to be here today to discuss the topic of, can you ever get back with an ex? Does it ever work? All of which was spurred on by the new revelation, the more recent revelation that Bennifer is yet again a thing.
You said Bennifer very loud there, I got a fright. J-Lo and Ben Affleck are rekindling their years-old romance. Oh my God, we could actually do a whole episode on celebrities I'd like to get back with their exes, but let's not.
God, that would be a good one. Or, well, I mean, if nothing else, we don't actually know if they're rekindling. All we know is that Ben has been spotted being picked up in a big white Tahoe, driven by Jennifer's
No, he's
security
been
staff.
Spending hours at Jennifer's house.
Excuse me.
Sorry.
He has been picked up by Jennifer's security staff, transported to her house, wherein he leaves aforementioned vehicle, spends hours doing God knows what, potentially just watching Disney movies in her cinema with her and her kids, gets back multiple hours later in the chauffeured white SUV and is driven back to his home where he is deposited safely like a turd in his home.
Maybe he was just going over to read books to the elderly.
Are you saying she's elderly?
Yes.
She looks the exact same. Well, actually, she doesn't look the exact same. She's got a
ridiculous.
lot more makeup on.
Hustlers has really made everybody forget the fact that J-Lo's in her 50s.
Well, I read a thing yesterday that said she really set the bar.
Sorry, can I just say, I don't actually think people in their 50s are elderly. I'm just being bitchy.
Oh, well, it said she reset the bar, or should we say the poll? I made that part up. She reset the bar in terms of expectation for what a 50-year-old woman should look like. It said, because there she is on her stripper pole, and then the Golden Girls, they had 52-year-old actor in the Golden Girls, like living away her sunset years. What?
It was much more realistic.
I
the
wish
Golden
I was
Girls.
retired at 52. That sounds
So do I.
amazing.
Well, yeah, but I mean, that
You already
sounds
are
much
retired.
nicer.
You're
You're an absolute weapon. Between that and Dawn earlier going, Rosemary, why do you hate working?
Well, I mean, that was when I said we should do 2 mini-sodes today and put some in the bank. So when you have a baby, you can actually have maternity leave. Oh, God, no, I was only planning on relaxing. That's a good question.
That just goes to show that hanging out with you is not relaxing.
I know, I was about to, and I was like, we're only going to chat.
Yeah, I hope you feel bad. I'll go first because I have actually got back with many an ex. No, I think only one I just kept getting back with over and over and over again.
I've gotten back with multiple exes, thanks. I have.
Who?
People who shall remain nameless, but they shall be identifiable to you by the shame which I put myself through in order to get back with them.
I set this pattern for myself very early though. My very first boyfriend in school, I think we broke up about 12 times and then got back together basically when I
Oh, please. This was like, you were about 7.
Excuse me, I was 16.
Oh,
this
that
is
boyfriend.
Dave.
This is not your very first boyfriend in school. It's about your 8th boyfriend in school.
My first actual serious boyfriend
Now,
that I was
in your estimation, you made us think all the other ones were very serious. Your first boyfriend in school was when you were 7.
Okay. I was 5, and can we please just move on from your obsession? It's weird. Your obsession with my childhood romance. Well, they weren't even romance, the innocence of it.
You're the one who said
Holding
I never
hands.
called them romances.
Oh, okay. When I was in secondary school, I went out with a guy for about 3 years, and we broke up, I'd say, within that 3 years, approximately 12 times.
Did you?
Yeah, oh my God, we were
I thought you
always
only broke
breaking
up once.
No, we broke up loads of times.
After Teddy Gate. I thought you were just broke up one time.
No, we didn't break up after that.
Oh.
No. I mean, I might have wanted to, but
You
no.
didn't want to. You were delighted with that.
I didn't. No, I wasn't delighted with that Teddy. I was horrified by that Teddy.
You
but
weren't.
I was delighted with him at the time.
Yeah. He was very nice.
Oh, he was so nice. I can't even remember why we broke up. I think it was like I just kept getting into a panic that I was like, we're very serious and I'm too young. I'm too young to be this serious with someone, because we were like, it was a very serious romance. And we would break up, and then approximately 2 days later I'd be like, nobody's gonna love me the way Dave loves me. I need to get back together. And then I'd like beg him to get back together with me, basically.
I was reading today in potentially The Guardian about people who have aromantic and asexual marriages, right? And I was thinking, and one of them...
Did you send me a link to this? Somebody sent me this.
I didn't. Well, I was reading about it today and I was thinking about it for a different episode. But in it anyway, they talked about some people who are so addicted to romance out of the fear of never being loved again. And I immediately thought of you. Maybe that's why they sent it to you.
I think that is why this. I was Kira. I think that is why she sent it to me.
Anyway, go on.
So
So
what do
did
you
it,
want me to say to that? I've
Well-
basically just admitted to that.
well, the topic was, did it work out? The
No,
topic.
it
So-
obviously didn't work out. I think the
Is it
problem
Brandon?
No, I think the problem was every time. So I think now, every time you break up with somebody and then get back with them, you've eroded a certain amount of trust. Like, not trust as in, I'm insecure now, I don't trust you. You know, like as in I think you're going to cheat or I don't trust, but trust that that person loves you and will be there for you, if you know what I mean. And you make that person more and more insecure every time you break up, even if it's just once.
It's no longer unconditional. There are conditions. You have proven to them by breaking up with them that it is conditional.
Well, it's no longer unconditional, but it's also just no longer easy in a way, because you've kind of broken something. Like you've upset them in a way that you would never upset them before. Do you know what I mean? You've like...
No, I don't think that. I mean, I personally don't think that's it. I was watching Good Girls last night and I was looking at the relationship between Beth, the protagonist, and her husband, who are now to kind of in this weird truce-like relationship where they're both working to make it work, but they've both been very transparent with each other in their failings. You know, now they've both cheated. They both know that they've done things the other one is not
Spoiler alert
happy
for
with. Spoiler
season
alert,
3
spoiler
of
alert.
Good Girls or whatever.
Yeah. But they're together and they're accepting of each other. And I thought, is this what, like, relationships are not easy, right? Does this mean, is it easier to be with somebody if you know and you accept? Like, I was like, I could never have understood that in my 20s because I was very black and white on, like, if you cheat on me, it's over. Whereas now I think if you cheat on me, I don't know if we can make it through it. Can we? I mean, I maybe, you know, I don't think, but if you leave me, then to your point, but I don't think it's about, but I think that's like, then you're no longer, you're making clear to me that this is something that can break. This is something that I'm not committed to.
Yeah, and that you're no longer in this with me in the way that I thought you were. You know what I mean? That you're like, we're both committed to this. If somebody walks away, it's like, oh, so you're willing to walk away. You know what I mean? That it just becomes a different flavor, so to speak. I did break up, sorry, Liam. I did break up with Liam at one point.
I thought Liam broke up with you.
No.
Pretty sure Liam broke up with you.
No, at the end it was mutual, and maybe like a little bit more.
I think Liam broke up with you every time.
Okay. I broke up with Liam. I think, you know what? I think I was really struggling with my mental health and I was having a really hard time at work. I was really, really stressed. I really was finding my boss really difficult. I was finding work really difficult. Liam and I were dating. We'd probably only been dating about 6 months. And I was just in a panic where I was like, I can't manage it. You know, I can't manage everything. I can't manage my feelings about work and this and that. And I was like, the only thing, because I was like, I can't quit my job, even though I totally could have quit my job. But in my head, I was like, I can't quit my job. I can't stop paying rent. I can't do this.
Mom's voice in your head, like, you can't quit your job. You haven't been in it for a decade.
You haven't got your pension yet. But I was like, but I can end my relationship and that'll be something I don't need to worry about. Even though I wasn't especially worried about it, but I was kind of feeling like I can't make time, or I can't make mental space for it, if you know what I mean. And I remember at the time telling you about it and you were like, you're being insane.
That's helpful.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure I didn't use that word.
No, you didn't use that word. But like, you were basically like, no, like this is a bad decision. He's great. You don't want to break up with him. You're just having a tough time. And I was like, no, it's much easier. Like, I just didn't, like, I don't have that to worry about. And then like, typically about 2 weeks later, I was like, made a mistake.
Nobody's ever going to love me again.
No, but I was also just like, I really missed him. And I was like, he's such a great guy. We had a great relationship. You know, in hindsight, I think it was just that the reason we broke up overall is because we just realized we were really, really good friends. And that it wasn't a romance anymore. It was just like a great friendship. And he's now,
romantic partnership.
Yeah. And he's now one of my best and most kind of precious friends.
Oh.
If that makes sense. Get a grip.
What? Precious. My most precious.
No, but my precious.
Yeah.
But like, you know, my best loved, like one of the people I feel closest to in the world probably. And I'm so glad that we actually didn't break up that first time, because I think we wouldn't have been able to salvage a friendship from it, because because it came so out of nowhere. He was really upset. Like, I was really upset. We weren't talking afterwards. Anyway, then in my upset, I decided that the best thing to do would be to adopt a puppy. So I adopted Quillon. I think I was living with mum and dad at the time, or I had just moved back in with mum and dad. That was probably part of it, part of the whole panic. And I adopted this puppy, then realised I needed to get back with Liam. And he agreed to meet me and I brought the puppy. And I have to say now, when it comes to getting back with your ex, puppy's a great way to lure them in, because he couldn't be angry with me because the puppy was there. Well, he was pretty angry with me, but the puppy was there as a distraction. And then we got back together. We had another blissful year before we realized we were just better off as like best friends. And then we've been best friends ever since.
But it was a good year.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it was actually great. And I think, but you know what? I think that was because I knew that I had totally made a mistake. And it wasn't a breakup that, like, I didn't come back from it and go, okay, I think we should get back together, but you need to do this. But I need you to, it was all like me going, this was all my mistake. It's nothing you did. Like, you don't need to change anything. I was being a dickhead. Whereas I think a lot of the time when you have breakups or like breaks in relationships, it is probably a lot of the time because of both people. You know what I mean? That you're like, you know, you've made, you know, you haven't been making time for me, or I feel like when we argue, you make me feel like I'm being stupid when I have a legitimate, you know what I mean? So you kind of come back to it and you're like, okay, we both need to work on this. Whereas I think the reason we could get back together and the relationship was still good afterwards, but was because it was completely my fault.
Oh.
And there was nothing that he had to like blame himself for or feel insecure about or worry about, really. And I just had to work on letting him know that, you know what I mean? That like, this isn't because I don't want to be with you. This is because I was having a total panic and I love you, and this is like nothing, like you have no blame in this. Like you
I have to say, he was very supportive and patient partner to accept that.
Yeah.
To be willing, you know, because I mean, he must have been very hurt. Like, it's hard to go through all of that and then be like willing to open yourself up to it again. You must be something special, Rosie. Oh, for God's sake. Okay, so I would say that I have gotten back together with people that I broke up with how many times?
Have you ever broken up with Don?
No. Have I? Have I wanted to? No. Have I? No. I have not. So I went out with, let me see, who did I? Yeah, so I went out with, had a relationship that I was very passionate about, that I was very infatuated with this particular individual. And
was he good at crosswords?
Very good at crosswords, very smart, etc. But I think, like, look, I was actually only talking about this at work the other day with my poor colleagues who probably don't need to know these details of my life. And I was talking about like the relationship itself from the beginning was just one of those, something dramatic is always happening, not necessarily within the confines of the relationship, but to this individual. He had an extremely dramatic life, right? Mm-hmm. And I even remember one night, he wasn't, like, he was pretty broke most of the time, right? And I remember he had a car, but like he didn't necessarily have, he had, you know, collision insurance, but not fire, theft, etc. And I remember one time, and things were always breaking down.
Third party kind of thing. But
yeah, like stuff was always breaking down. You know, there was always a drama, like, oh, I was late. I missed this opportunity because my car broke down, or I missed this opportunity because I forgot about it. Like it was always very high kind of turmoil, you know. And he was really smart, genuinely, but definitely in hindsight, I think, and not being a doctor, like I think had issues, right? Mm-hmm. Whatever they are, I'm not going to try and like diagnose them. I don't know, but I mean, probably had things that he could do with help dealing with. Yeah, exactly, right. And would definitely kind of lived outside the system in his mind, you know, that he was very suspicious or like rejected.
He was kind of a lot of punk in spirit.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah, maybe
that's
anarchist. It. Yeah. I remember at one point, I mean, and I kind of got very wrapped up in his life versus him getting very wrapped up in mine, you know, and he had been in, he was older than me, he had a kid, all this kind of stuff. So he had a lot more, I mean, baggage is the wrong word, but like a lot more history, a lot more ties than I had, right? And I was kind of,
he had a lot going on.
Yeah. And he was much more kind of firmly embedded in the, you know, in his life than I maybe. Yeah. I was more just graduating. I was in college and I was much more like, what am I going to do? Where am I going to go? You know, the world's my oyster, lots of options, etc. And he was more like, I have to stay here. I have my kid. I have these responsibilities and blah, blah, blah. Fine. And I remember one time, like just all these kind of disastrous things would happen. Like I had a job in a shop, right, in this village that I took a year off college, and I had a job in a shop, in an antique shop. And I got offered through this shop, like I met a couple of people, and one of them had a big house that he didn't live in, but that he owned in the town that we were in, the village that we were living in. And he offered me, that I was living in, like we weren't living together, and he offered me to kind of act as caretaker in this house. I was only reminded of this because Mom sent me a picture from the newspaper. Is this the house you minded for a wet weekend? You're a disgrace. Thanks. But I was like, what happened in that? I kind of forgotten about it because it was really short. I think it was only about 2 months. I actually hated it because it was really remote and it was down a really long driveway. It was a massive, big Victorian house and I had a tiny wing of it, room.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And I wasn't really allowed into the rest of it.
Sounds very Beauty and the Beast. Did you have a car at the time?
Yeah, I had a car.
Oh yeah, okay, good.
And it was very unnerving because it was pitch black at night. There was nobody else in reach. I think I had a cell phone, but they weren't you couldn't go.
Do you mean a mobile?
Yeah. But I mean, I don't think I could, I think that we didn't have internet access on our phones or anything like that. So you're pretty cut off, and you know me, I don't charge my phone the best of times.
And you were probably always running out of credit as well.
Oh, no doubt. Anyway, so, and Mom's like, what? And I remember and I had been given strict instructions. Yeah, you're right. It was very Beauty and the Beast. You're not to go into any of the rest of the house. And I remember at one point,
there's a rose in the West Wing, casting one petal aside each day. Don't
exactly.
touch it.
My boyfriend and his friend came over and we were just having drinks and chatting and stuff. And then it was nighttime and I remember my boyfriend was like, you can sleep in that room. It'll be fine. Nobody will notice if he sleeps in this room, right? So I was very under the thumb, not under the thumb, but
No, but just also not wanting to be the nerd to be like, no, you can't go in. I'm not allowed to go in that room.
Yeah, and I was like, okay, well, it's fine. I was like, okay, well, I mean, I'm sure and I was also like, I'm sure we can make the bed. And make the bed we did and all this kind of stuff. Anyway, and your man, there was a groundskeeper there who had it in for me from the get-go.
He probably had a gossamer thread attached to the doorknob and he knew that you guys had opened it.
Anyway, long story short, they discovered that your man had slept in it one night. And then I got kicked out, right?
But you were living there for free, weren't you?
I was living there for free to mind it, right? And I got kicked out. But it happened once. There was no second chance here. These kids of mine would not know what hit them. But the irony of it all was that I then discovered that 6 months later, the guy who had slept in the room got the job after me. I was like,
what?
Yeah, little did they know.
Oh, they didn't know?
No, they didn't know.
Oh my God, what a cheeky fucker.
I know, right? So he got the job after me.
That's
I mean, he obviously slept. He probably slept in that bed just to get me out. I was absolutely raging. Anyway, so I got kicked out. So that was kind of, and then I lived in a room above the pub, which actually was great crack. And that was actually,
I'd hate that.
No, it was brilliant. A lovely apartment actually above the pub, and it was super chic. And
anytime I think of a room above the pub, I think of the scene in Lord of the Rings, the first one, where the hobbits go and sleep above the pub, and Aragorn spends the night looking out the window.
No, it was actually it was more like loft style, and there were 3 other people living in it with me, and it was really nice and kind of. To me, it was the first kind of cool living outside of home not outside of home. The first cool living. Yeah, it was really cool, right? And these guys were very nice and had one of them was an artist and one of them worked in a hotel and they were very nice. At one point on the way, we had some night, I keep wanting to say his name, but no, my boyfriend was off in Dublin doing something and he drove back down in his car.
It'd be so much handier if his name was Paul.
Oh, we'll call him Paul. And so Paul was in Dublin and he drove back down in his car. And he ran out of petrol. This was the kind of stuff that happened. You know what I mean? And he ran out of petrol. Yeah, a mile outside the town. And so he walked home and he walked to me that night and he was like, can I stay here? And he was calling. He was outside for 6 hours. This kind of drama, somebody's out, they're outside and they're calling, they're throwing pebbles at the window. It's not even my bedroom. Anyway, and Paul, so he came and he stayed the night fine. The next morning, Paul goes up to get his car and it's been burnt out, right? It's on the side of the road. So now he's no money, he's no car, right? It's that kind of thing. It's how quickly things can go from bad to worse to kind of really bad. So he was staying with me then for a couple of weeks and there was a party and we went to this party and there was this really cool girl that I had a kind of a girl crush on. I only met her that night, but I was like, this girl's super cool. And we were chatting, getting on really well. And I was like, oh, that girl's really nice. You know what I mean? Just somebody that you like. And I was like, I think we could be friends, etc. Because it was a very artistic kind of eclectic town of lots of students and stuff. And party's going on, we're on the kitchen. I mean, I don't even know whose house it was. It was a great party though, we're having a great time. And at one point I go looking for Paul and I go out and I see a gang of our mutual friends. I'm like, has anybody seen Paul? And they all looked really shifty. Oh no. Nobody's seen Paul. So I go outside and I'm like, is anybody seen Paul? And my friend is outside the house and he goes, I just don't want to be in the middle of this. And Paul told me not to tell you, but and he just pointed to the back garden. So I go around the side of the house. There he is on the grass, lying down on the grass, snogging this girl, right? I was absolutely raging. And I just remember, I don't even think I was raging, actually. I said that absolutely. I was absolutely shocked. I just remember looking and kind of standing there and just feeling like such a spare. I was like,
yeah.
I was more like, what? I was like, brain cannot process what is happening on grass. Feel embarrassed, mortified, surprised. Slow moving.
I wanted to be your friend, you bitch.
Well, I mean, actually, I didn't even really care about her at all. I was just horrified with him.
Yeah.
I mean, it was just, I still like, I struggled to kind of process like, what? So I stormed off home, right? Walked home, stormed off home, waiting for him to call and apologise.
Oh no.
Never did, right? Waiting,
course.
waiting, never did. Me crying, sobbing. I remember I was listening to Khalees
Oh,
on
that's a
repeat.
good choice.
On repeat in my bedroom until
I hate you
eventually,
so much right
yeah,
now.
sobbing into the pillow while Khalees. No, I hated that song.
Oh,
And I remember at one point the flatmates were like, "Do you mind turning Khalees off?"
fair.
I think the soundtrack of my life is like, what's her name? Beverly Knight,
Beverly Knight.
Khalees.
No, sorry. Alanis Morissette, Beverly Knight.
I don't think Alanis Morissette, maybe.
When you were younger, yeah, definitely. Alanis Morissette.
No,
When you
Pearl
were living
Jam,
at home.
Jeremy.
Pearl Jam, yeah.
Pearl Jam. Sorry, we'll start with the mini pops. Pearl Jam. I don't think, well, Alanis Morissette, but like only because there wasn't an emotional event
Pearl Jam, the
tied to
album
it.
with the ram on the front of it.
Yeah, exactly
Yeah,
that
I
one.
can still see it.
Anyway, so he never like approached me, right? And funnily enough, all the people who worked in the pub where I used to go and have my lunch, like above which I lived, were like, "Oh, you're so much better off." Like, we didn't want to tell you at the time, but like, he's just not reliable, and definitely, is a bit of a cheater, blah blah blah. Which obviously fell on deaf ears because about 2 weeks later, I'm like, "Can we meet?"
Oh, yeah, so sorry, you hadn't heard from him in 2 weeks and you texted him?
Yeah, it's really bad, isn't it?
Beatrice.
I know, Rosemary. It's so embarrassing. It's so crap, honestly. So then we meet, and he's like, "I don't think we should get back together."
And you were like, what? I beg to differ, young man.
I was like, well, I begged anyway.
Oh, God.
I don't know if I begged. I can't remember verbatim, but like basically that was the gist of it. How mortifying.
And then you did get back together?
And we got back together.
For how long then?
I don't know, about 6 months.
Oh, too long.
Way too long.
Poor you.
But then I just spent all the rest of the time, every time he looked at anybody sideways, being like, "Did you fancy her?" I never said that. I was like, "I'm super chill." But I was like, "Did he fancy her?"
But isn't it so fucked up that like, even after this happened, you get to not be chill? Do you know what I mean?
I wasn't. No, you don't get to be chill when you beg that person to get back with you.
Yeah, but like...
Yeah, no, he didn't owe me anything. He never said he'd be a better person or he was extremely sorry. He just said nothing. And then in the end, did I break up with him? No. He broke up with me by not turning up to an event that he was supposed to be at and then just saying, "Sorry, I'm not coming."
Oh, yeah.
And then I said, "Well, if you're not coming, then it's over." He said, "Then I guess it's over." And then I sobbed salty tears on the train on the way into college for at least a month. And I remember I told you this before and you were like, "It's ridiculous." My eyes were just leaking. Like, I wouldn't even be crying. My eyes were just crying
Beatrice,
for me.
I remember. Listen to Shoulda, Woulda, Coulda on repeat, trying to...
Oh, that was when Shoulda, Woulda, Coulda. So they're
Yeah,
both
we
for
were-
him.
we were
He doesn't
in a-
deserve those two good songs.
No, he doesn't. We were in a rage as well, all of us, because you were doing your final project, crying your head off. And Dad was like, "She doesn't need to be dealing with this."
Dead right, I didn't need to be dealing with that.
Can I just say, I've just realised this dress has a zipper.
Very.
Pop my tit out.
Oh, that's brilliant. Is this a maternity dress?
Yeah. Of course
I
it is,
don't think
Beatrice.
my bosom would reach up that high,
I
but
don't know if mine's going to... I mean, it's not very comfortable.
Rosemary, pregnancy's not about comfort. Is there not an opening at the top of it as well to actually open the entire flap? No, at the top, not of your boob, of the dress.
No.
When you're examining your boob. Is there not an opening at the top of it? Is there? I don't know how my body works. I'm talking about your dress.
Where does the milk come out? No, there's no opening at the top of the dress.
Anyway, thanks for distracting from my humiliation. Yeah, thanks, Dad. Thanks, Dad. I wondered the same thing. How could he do this to me? But in hindsight, as you now all know, he didn't do it to me. I did it to myself.
And that's why it really hurts.
Exactly. I was going to sing that too. Yeah. So anyway, so I did it to myself. So I'd say in this instance, did it work to get back together? No. Did he ever say it would? No. Should we have gotten back together? No. If somebody cheats on you and doesn't call you, let them be. By all means, be raging. Do not arrange a get back together date. No, do not. Do not listen to the inner heartbreak. This is just you mending yourself to move on to better things.
God.
I know, Rosemary. Now you're looking at me with all different eyes.
No, I'm just like, it's very depressing.
Shame.
It's very depressing. I was going to ask then, do you think... Well, I was going to say an ex of mine cheated on me. But in the way of like went out with his mates, got absolutely hammered, kissed someone and then came immediately home to tell me.
Oh, that's not better either though.
No. Well, it's marginally better because he came back and he was like, I'm so sorry. It was like immediately. You know what I mean? It was like, I'm so sorry. It was a mistake. Like, I don't know how it happened, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, but you know what? Don't say stupid
it's
things.
awful.
I'm not saying that's a direct quote that he said, but like, I don't know how it happened. Don't say stupid things.
Oh, I know. I
Right?
know. Yeah.
I would say if you're going to cheat on somebody, just own it and then like stop talking quickly.
Yeah. And then we didn't break up. Well, did we? I kicked him out basically more because I was like, this is what I have to do now. I have to have some dignity.
Yeah.
Kicked him out and he went home and lived with his mom for a couple of weeks, maybe a week or two. And then I basically, like you, begged him to get back with me.
Yeah, but that was different because he didn't do what my experience, did.
Yeah. No.
And as it turns out afterwards, later, after we actually broke up, people told me, oh yeah, he was cheating on you lots of times, right? And
People are so helpful.
but I really wish that, and I know that they were like, I don't want to get involved, but then don't get involved. Then don't tell me
say
afterwards.
anything ever.
Yeah. But I would actually have appreciated knowing. Now, I don't know that I would have been delighted, but I don't think I would have freaked out at them. I think I wouldn't have
I don't
wanted
think
to
you
hear
would have
it.
either, but do you think you would have broken up with him or do you think you would have stayed with him and then ended up, because I always wonder in those situations, would you have ended up distancing yourself slightly from that person because you're embarrassed? Do you know what I mean? 'Cause you're like, they know this and they told me and I didn't break up with them and I can't
No, I think
face
armed
them.
with
You know
that
what I mean?
ammunition, I may not have been as heartbroken. I may not have called him back second time. But you know what? Who knows? I probably would have done it all the exact same and then just been like doubly annoyed with myself. So, who knows?
I'm trying to think, have I ever been broken up with by somebody who then tried to get back with me? Sadly, no.
Oh my God, nobody's ever tried to get back with me, ever.
There was that one time at my 21st that the guy who'd dumped me and over whom I was mooning, I had been mooning for 5
Physically?
months. For 5 months, then drunkenly said to me on the stairs something like, you look great. Do you ever think? And I was like, listen, leave it out. And then was like, gonna kiss him later. You know what I mean? I was like, have to play hard to get. And then he invited us all to a party at his house. Remember? And then he didn't show up.
Yeah.
He got in a taxi and went to his dad's and was like, I was too drunk.
What could have been? What should have been? Well, I also went out with this guy. I don't know if this doesn't really count as like getting back together, but I went out with this guy on a blind date on Mythique in France, Paris, France. And sorry, I just have to do that accent when I speak about France. And
You don't actually.
I really fancy this guy. I thought he was listen, actually, that could be anybody.
I was just about to say, I was like, you and I, like, somebody said to me one day, what's your type? And I was like, I literally fancy everyone. I don't have a type.
No, I've actually now remembered about that Guardian article. There was a term in there for people who can only have feelings, who can only have physical relationships with people that they have emotional attachments to. And I'm like, how do you not have an emotional attachment to every single person you meet?
Yeah, I'm literally like every man I meet, suss out, might be single, get a slight inkling that he's flirting with me, which honestly does not take a lot. I'm literally like, oh, so attached. Do you know what I mean?
I know.
I'm like fucking imagining our future together, imagining like all the things we could do. What we could do this, we could do that. Oh, where's he from? He's from the Gaeltacht. I'm imagining long weekends we could spend together.
Well, do you remember when you were here on Tinder and you were like, this guy likes me? And I said, like, do you like them? You're interviewing them too. And you went,
I was like,
and you were
irrelevant.
Like, what? You were like, yeah, I suppose you're right. Anyway, met this guy and we went for a date. And he brought me for drinks and he brought me to meet two of his work colleagues. And but immediately and they were really nice and normal, two French, a girl and a guy, right? And I was like, and he went to the bathroom, and they were like, oh my God, you are so nice. Like, we love you now. You're super sound. We've met a couple of his previous dates and they're all nuts, right? And they were really likable and relatable. So I was
But that also means you're not his type.
Oh, probably. Well, thanks.
No offense.
Well, he told me I was his type and he told me he loved me.
You're totally different to any of his other girls we've met. You're not his type.
Oh.
Do you know what I mean? Go on. He told you he loved you?
No, as in
he told
you're
you he was
great.
mad about you.
Yeah, exactly, right. Okay. And it's only one date, okay? But we'd been messaging for ages on the app, right? As you can imagine. I know, disaster. That's what I said to Julia. At a certain point, I was like, no more messaging back and forth.
Yeah.
Look at the profile, go on the date, do not chat because everybody's witty and everybody has a Cyrano de Bergerac in the background making up good jokes for them.
I don't even think it's that everybody's witty. This is really
on the device. I'm saying
no. I don't think everybody's witty on the device. I think I'm witty on the device, and then I end up laughing at my own jokes. And then
I never do that.
And then I'm like, we're having the best chat. I remember sending like message exchanges to my friend Claire and being like, "Look at this guy, he's really funny," and she'd be like, "Rosemary, he's not funny. You're funny."
Rosemary, you're not that funny. So she's just being nice.
Carry on.
So
That he
anyway,
went to the bathroom.
Yeah, he'd go to the bathroom and the friend, but also the fact that he had friends, because that's part of like going on these, you know, especially not in Ireland, where like in Ireland, the minute you meet up with somebody, like every single person I know who went on Plenty of Fish was like, oh, I went out with this person.
Knows
Turns
somebody,
out like he knew my cousin's aunt's teacher, whatever.
Yeah, and then you can place them. Like sometimes you're like, oh, it turns out they're friends with that weird guy who went to my school. That like, oh,
and in Paris we did not have that, right? Like you'd be going, I have no context for this person. I don't know like what this area, like what people are like, you know, what, you know, who comes from here, who comes from there, who comes from the South France, I don't know if a shiny tracksuit is a good sign, a bad sign, or an indifferent sign. Like I don't understand the cues that are just blasting at you in your own hometown. You know what I mean? Yeah. So anyway, this guy, we go on the stage and it's all great, and I was absolutely infatuated with him, which we've now discovered really is not indicative of nothing. Yeah. Okay. And he's like, oh, when are we going to meet? Are we going to meet again tomorrow? And I was like, yeah, that sounds great, right? So anyway, say in The Guardian, did you kiss? Listen, that would be telling. Of course we kissed, right? Had a great kiss. Off he goes home. The next day, he's like, oh, sorry, I can't meet. Oh, he did text me though the next day. He said, oh no, he texted me that night. Had a great time. Love to meet you again. Like blah, blah, blah. Great. Oh, my friends loved you. I'm like, fab. I'm literally, to your point, I'm like marching myself down the aisle. He is following, not that willingly probably. Anyway, the next day he's like, unfortunately, my cat's sick. That was it. My cat's sick. You think I put this together? Unfortunately, my cat's sick and I can't make it.
Pussy problems.
And I was like, oh my God. I was like, this is a bit dodge. Julie, is this dodge? She's like, no, you never know. Could be fine.
You should have gone over with a cup of chicken soup for the cat.
Well, I didn't know where he lived, right? So the next day he's like,
as well.
Next day he's like, oh, my dad's over. I can't come and visit. I was like, well, do you want to have a chat on the phone? So he calls me up and then he serenades me with the guitar. And at this point, I'm like, this is the man of my dreams. And as I look around this room with 20 guitars in it that belong to Don, I'm like, there's something
Don's
here.
never serenaded you on the phone. Has he?
No, he hasn't.
Thank fuck. Oh my God. I was like, as I said that, I was like, oh my God, I hope he hasn't.
He was probably terrible as well, like your man. He's like, I'm out on my balcony playing the guitar. He probably wasn't. He was probably like in a sitting room. Who knows?
French music.
Frere Jacques. Who knows?
I don't like a lot of French music.
Anyway, I like French music. That's very narrow-minded of you.
Oh, please.
Anyway.
I like French pop from the Hookup Plan. That's about it.
Oh, that was a good TV show.
Good soundtrack.
So this goes on now for weeks, right? And then he stops calling me. So I'd like to say I stopped calling him too, but I think there was one night where I was like, I've called him 13 times, Julie, and he's never called me back. I know. That took me, even that I cried myself to sleep one night and then I got over him. But what the hell?
I cried myself to sleep one night and then I got over him 3 weeks later.
Yeah, it was at least 3 weeks. He's just not that into you.
But like, why did he bother calling you and serenading you down the phone?
I have no idea. Why did he bother?
Sorry to circle back, but why did that guy I went on a date with text me that night telling me how great my podcast was, how funny he thought I was and invited me over to watch Game of Thrones? Why did that happen? I just don't understand. Men are weird. If you're listening right now, please email us, notwithoutmysis@gmail.com, and let me know why you texted me that night and said you thought I was hilarious, you loved my podcast, you listened to all my podcast episodes, they were so funny. Have I thought about being a stand-up comedian? He actually said that. And would I like to come over and watch Game of Thrones and meet your dog?
Yeah, he probably regretted afterwards. He was like, God, if she does become a stand-up comedian, I can't be her boyfriend. Because I don't want to be
he clearly didn't want to be my boyfriend either. Like, anyway, Beatrice.
Well,
either
okay,
way.
and I'd like to say, if you're listening, si tu écoutes cette podcast, pourquoi tu me...
Oh my God, your French has got
Pourquoi tu
terrible.
me... Quelque chose le guitar.
Si tu écoutes a podcast. You're like Carrie Bradshaw in Dior. It's very embarrassing.
This is like...
You lived in France for like 4 years
could you
or something.
Not, 3 years. Could you not date yourself a little bit less? It's like Emily at Paris.
Emily in Paris.
Anyway, and then the other time that I went out with this French guy, actually another French guy, and we were going out. We went out for about a year, and about 9 months into it, like, he was so nice. What I really liked about him was he had tons of really cool friends who I loved. I loved hanging out with him and his friends. There's a common theme here, actually. I've just realized I mainly date people for their friends. So Don better get a
posse together.
Better get a move on, yeah. And start like socializing in Fort Wayne right now, or else.
Oh, although maybe his friends in Fort Wayne would put you off. No offense to men in Fort Wayne, because I obviously like a lot of them myself. One in particular, my husband.
My husband.
My husband.
hubs. You wrote that the other day. My hubs. I can't.
No, I didn't.
You did on your Patreon piece, and I was
my
horrified.
hubs, I did not.
You did.
I absolutely.
It was
did
a
not.
slip of the finger.
I deny it. It was. That never happened. Much like I do not own a single pair. You know, people have started sending me pictures of wedges and I saw these and thought of you. I don't own a single pair of wedges. You weapon.
Only because you've just cleaned out your wardrobe.
Go on. Go on.
Anyway, I was going out with this guy and I really
loads of friends
he was
loved.
really needy. He was very demanding of my time, of my emotion, of my everything. Like he wanted to always be together. He wanted to do everything together. He was very jealous if I wanted to go out with my girlfriends, and not in a controlling maniac, but in a kind of a just sort of needy way. Yeah, exactly. And then he would get kind of peeved, and he had like little petty tempers, and you know, nothing that you'd be like, oh my God, I'm afraid of this guy, but more like, oh, get over yourself, you know. And he was really nice, but he also ate loads of gross foods that I really hated, like loads of offal and like osso buco and all these things that I really don't want to watch people eating.
He was a French gourmand.
He was, and I actually turned my stomach. He was constantly slurping escargot down his throat.
No wonder you ended up with a veggie.
Oh yeah, exactly. He only likes cheese. I was saying that to Tom the other day. He could actually subsist on just a plain diet of cheese.
Oh my God, so could I. Dubliner white cheddar.
Well, anyway, and then we'd go out for dinner and I would have to avert my eyes from the actual eating that was happening in front of me. And I'd be like, I'll just have a salad. Actually, I should probably have stayed with them. Anyway, and then so we broke up over something absolutely ridiculous. He got really enraged when Julie and I were planning to buy ourselves rings.
To buy each other rings
for our 30th birthdays. And it was more like, we're independent women. Did I already tell the story?
Yes.
Right. And he got really enraged.
Tell it again.
And I was like, this is ridiculous. Like, I'm not actually arguing with you over what my friend's buying you. Like, you don't get to decide what my friend is buying me for my birthday or what I'm buying her. Like, you're welcome to give me a piece of jewelry if you want to.
Yeah, but also wasn't he like I should be the one buying you a ring?
Oh, yeah.
You were kind of like, well, then fucking buy me a ring.
Well, 100%. That's my point. Like, you can buy a present independent of what else is happening. Like, you do it, you do you, as they say.
God, can you imagine if I bought you something and Don was like, I really wanted to get that for you? Like, as if you'd be delighted.
Listen, I've got 8 fingers. I can wear more than one ring. Anyway.
Oh my God, for a second I was like, where are your other 2 fingers?
So anyway, we broke up, right? We broke up. And I think I told this story. We broke up but then I was a bit like you. I was like, oh my God, have I made a mistake? But I mean, I really did like him. And it's a bit like that. What's it called? The wasted something fallacy. I can't remember what it's called now. I was thinking about it the other day. It's the one where like you've already invested X amount of time, so you don't want to throw away that time.
Oh yeah.
You know, and I was like, I've already.
I can't remember what it's
called.
Right.
We put it in the notes that you're not writing anymore. Anyway, I was like,
sometimes I write notes.
I was like, I've already gone out with him for 8 months, and like it's, you know, we've had some great times, and I loved his friends. As I'll say again, I was like, and I love his friends, and I'll never see his friends again, and blah blah blah. But anyway, we broke up. And then he did actually say, can we meet? He was in France and, I was living in New York at the time. And he came over and he said, can we meet? Actually, he was living in New York too. I know it's very complicated. Anyway, he's like, do you want to meet up? Well, I'm coming back from Paris for my trip to my family. Let's meet and have dinner. So we meet in this restaurant. We sit down. And I was like, oh, it's great. And I was all open to getting back together because I was assuming he was coming to be like, listen, the drama. Because a lot of it was also he had been traveling and I had been traveling. So a load of it had been via text, via phone. And I thought he was going to be like, listen, I just miss you. Let's get back together. So, we had already gotten back together. And this was the time we broke up. So we got back together, we broke up. And now this was our second breakup, right? So, So the first one obviously didn't take. So this was the second breakup. So we meet for dinner and he sits down and he goes, he was waiting there in a suit. Probably with a massive big like hunk of gross looking meat in front of him.
I didn't know what to go on.
I go. So I sat down, I was like, hi, you know, and he goes, well, are you ready to apologize? And I was like, no. I was like, what are you talking about? He's like, I'm ready for your apology. And I was like, for what? Like, for basically not, you know, defending him or like seeing his side of it. And I'm like, are you actually joking? Like, are we going to also be talking about this for the rest of our lives? Like, it's over.
No, you wouldn't if you had just apologized.
Well, you're right. So I didn't apologize.
You didn't get back together.
So we didn't get back together. But anyway, the point is the first time it didn't take. And then the second time we didn't do it. But I do remember the first time we got back together. We got back together and then we went and hung out on the roof. And the minute we got back together, I knew it was a mistake. Do you know that feeling? Like I was literally like, oh, I shouldn't. Because I just was so sorry I'd broken his heart because he really wanted to get back together.
Yeah, I think I had that feeling every single time I got back together with my school boyfriend, even though I just kept doing it.
Yeah.
But like there'd be a moment where he would like look deep into my eyes and be like, I'm so glad we're back together. We're soulmates. And I'd be like, oh God.
That's it. I knew we weren't soulmates, right? I knew this wasn't the way I wanted to feel in a relationship. But I also didn't want to risk making a mistake. I think that was it. I never wanted to like get it wrong.
But it's also terrible. Sorry, like, and we can talk about this in another episode. Breakups are so hard because if you're the one doing the breaking up, you have to deal with your new reality, right? That you're like, all the things that I thought were going to happen or all the things that I saw, even in the short term, we're going to do this, we're going to do that, we're going to go on holidays. None of those things are happening anymore. But you also have to deal with either like the guilt or the sadness, just the heart. Like, it's so hard because it's one of the only situations in life where you kind of on purpose cause someone this emotional pain. You know what I mean?
I don't know. There are many, but I also think it's it's terrible being broken up with, right? Obviously. Yeah. But in a way it's fine because that person's telling you they don't want to be with you. So, and there's nothing you can do about it.
Well,
you're better off. Yeah. And there's nothing you can do about it and you get to wallow in your pain. But if you broke up with them, you are also thinking, am I wrong?
Yeah.
Did I make a mistake?
Yeah.
And are they the person for me? Is this what a relationship is? I know no relationship is perfect. Is this the imperfect part?
Yeah. And like often you're also heartbroken, but in a way you don't, like your friends don't come over with like ice cream and balloons.
Do they not?
Well, not when you're the one who did the breaking up.
Really? But you still broke up.
Yeah, but I think you don't get as much sympathy because it's like, oh, well, as long as you're happy with your decision. Do you know what I mean? I think you don't get to be as heartbroken, or you don't get it's not considered that you're as heartbroken when you're the one who did the breaking up.
I mean, I really don't know because I think that was the only time I broke up with somebody. I think every other time I got broken up with.
Maybe I don't know because I just nearly always did the breaking up.
Did you?
Until I got older, like there were a few mutual breakups.
I feel like there is no such thing as a mutual breakup apart from yours with Liam, like where you're actually still friends.
Well, mine with Liam, but like mine with my ex who moved to Australia, where we just both kind of realised he wanted to move to Australia. I didn't. We're like, I want to stay here and, I have this job in the Irish Times and I don't want to leave it. And I think we were both really heartbroken, but it was like...
To be very honest, I think only you think that was a mutual breakup. Honestly. He's the one who decided to leave the country. So, I mean, I feel like yeah. I mean...
Excuse me.
I don't mean this badly, but I mean quite genuinely.
I think that this very hard breakup was mutual over a decade ago. Who are you?
No, I'm just telling you. You are entitled to think that, but I'm saying I don't think that was the perception.
Keep that to yourself.
Oh, okay. But so what I'm saying is I think you did get broken up with. But you know what? Maybe you dealt with it great because you thought you did it. Oh. Right?
I was delusional.
You're not delusional.
Oh my God. What other instance in my life do I have
Listen, this is your truth. Just because this is my truth. I mean, your truth is probably truthier because it happened to you. That was just my perception. You know what? That was my perception. And I was wrong. Clearly.
I never knew that was your perception until right now. Absolute bitch. That I was like, God, I'm like...
That's why I was so nice to you. I was bringing you ice cream and sending you flowers and checking in on you.
Milan.
I know, but I was checking in on you and caring about you.
Bringing me ice cream and sending me flowers as if
mentally.
You're poor in Milan.
Like...
You're destitute.
Like kind of...
Living hand to mouth and working in that Irish bar. You didn't give a fuck about me.
I cared a lot about you. I was horrified on your behalf that he was moving all the way across the world to get away from you. Obviously it was mutual.
We'd love to know. You know what? I would like to hear stories because I'm sure there are loads of people who broke up, like properly broke up for a significant period of time and then got together and lived happily ever after. I'd like to hear those stories. I need some happiness in my life after my sister's been an absolute bitch.
I'm sure that does happen though.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I'm sure that does happen where people like go off, find themselves.
Yeah, and then rediscover each other.
Yeah, that'd be nice.
That'd be so nice.
Yeah, that'd be romantic.
I'd like to hear some happy romantic stories.
Yeah, that'd be nice. So would I.
You can email us, notwithoutmysis@gmail.com. And for once, we'll actually read them out.
I'd also like to, that'd be nice. I'd also like to hear, just to make me feel better, some really embarrassing stories of how people begged other people to get back with them. Just to see, maybe that happened to other people.
Do I need to go over the one where I was standing on the street corner and he was going, I don't think we should see each other anymore? And I was like,
no, because you already told that one. And I already,
do I need to tell you again?
No, I already tit for tatted that one with the one where I screamed at the Italian guy to like never leave me.
Oh God. Listen. And look at us now, aren't we happy as Larry?
Happy as Larry.
Just goes to show you can really shame yourself terribly and still everything will work out-ish.
I wonder if Don knows how badly he could treat me before I'd actually break up with him.
Beatrice, I better hope he doesn't listen to this. Liam, take that out. Thank you all so much for listening. Email us notwithoutmysis@gmail.com. Check out our website, notwithoutmysis.com, which I promise I'm going to update any day now. You can follow us on Instagram at notwithoutmysister, individually at Beatrice McCabe, at Rosemary McCabe. Our McCabe is MACCABE, blame our dad. And we'll get you on Friday for a mini episode and next Tuesday for a full-length, thrilling roller coaster ride of emotional shame.
Thanks for listening.
Bye.
Bye.
Not Without My Sister is produced by Liam Garrity, sound and original music by Don Kirkland, and our original illustration is by Lindsay Nielsen.
Not Without My Sister is a member of The Warren, the home of great Irish podcasts. As is my podcast, Meet Your Maker. You'll find more great shows at thewarren.ie.